Welcome everybody to the Dreambuildrs podcast. I am super excited for the upcoming interview. Today, our guest is none other than Mikko Jarrah. Now, Mikko is a global entrepreneur, and he's here to tell his fascinating entrepreneurial journey of how he went through ups and downs from experiencing 2 bankruptcies to achieving financial freedom and now living in abundance. And he's a remarkable person, and I can't wait to talk to him and see how he made it happen. Mikko, welcome on the Dreambuildrs podcast.
Thank you, Jochem. It's a true pleasure to be here. Thanks for hosting and inviting, and yeah, absolutely. Can't wait to share my story, and hopefully we can impact and inspire some transformations. Help people.
Absolutely. I'm really happy that you're here, and I would love to know, because I know that you've been on the road the last couple of days in a camper van. How was that experience, man?
Yeah, man, it's definitely extraordinary times calls for extraordinary measures. So 6 months ago, if somebody would have told me that I'm going to be in a camper van or motorhome, like cruising around the country on holiday with the family, I would have told them to check their medication, because it definitely wasn't even a thought, to be honest, like as a form of vacation and travel. But obviously, as we know, we've been in lockdown and or at least like self-quarantine for quite a while. Thankfully now they've been lifted off. Let's hope it remains that way. But yeah, it's been quite a fun experience to think outside the box, and we actually rented one for a couple of weeks now, cruised around Estonia, where I'm based at the moment, and we surprisingly enjoyed it so much that we actually are going to rent it again in a couple of weeks and go to Finland to visit friends and family.
Wow.
Do a bit of sauna and fishing and swimming in the cold lakes. And then, if all goes well, we actually may do this a longer trip to visit you in Portugal in the winter time. So
you should definitely come around.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be a blast. And it's actually a pretty cool. I recommend it to everyone, because we haven't seen so many friends in such a short time, before in such a so in such an easy way. So it's you're not a burden to anyone, because you don't need them to host you. You can just host yourself in their parking lot, and then when you're ready to leave, you can leave. So good way to catch up with old partners and friends. So.
Yeah, sounds like the perfect way to have holidays, actually, right?
And yeah, you can put the kids to sleep. You can put the kids to sleep and then go outside in the terrace and just chill. And yeah, it's a cool plan.
All right, man. Now, I would love to know more about your entrepreneurial journey. Now you're a global entrepreneur, but I would love to go back to the days that you were basically a kid. And I'm just wondering if you always wanted to be an entrepreneur as a kid. Was that your dream? Tell us a little bit more about that journey there.
Yeah, thank you. Great memories mainly, and actually, when my uncle, my mother's brother, asked me, I think I was like 5 or 6 years old, when we were on a summer holiday in Finland from Dubai, and I remember answering to my uncle that, yeah, I want to be a businessman. At age, I think 5 or 6. And of course, that, like in many cases, has been the example from my father. So he was a self-made millionaire. Poor. His father was a poor taxi driver in Jerusalem, and gave him $500, their whole family savings, so he could take the boat to London and find his way. Go to university and. Build his own career, and he did that without anyone knowing the language, and he made it. Eventually, then in Dubai, we ended up there, and he made quite a nice life for us, and that was like my first big inspiration. Having said that, there, of course, it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows, and in a way, even though I'm grateful and thankful for everything my dad has done for me and all the the luxury lifestyle we were able to experience in Dubai with, beach clubs, hanging out in beach clubs on a daily basis, private tennis lessons and affluent classmates, and having quad runners and driving on the dunes in the desert pretty much every day, and swimming in nice pools and stuff like that. But at the same time, well, first of all, he was always doing business. So he was, when we woke up, we had breakfast, and he dropped him or my mom dropped us to school, and then when we came home, he was already sleeping his siesta, or the nap in between, and then he woke up and went back to work, and we didn't get back home until we were already in bed, or at least getting to bed. That was the Dubai lifestyle for entrepreneurs back then. I don't know how it has changed today, but probably not much in the way that it's structured to be always open for business. Yeah. But at the same time, let's say for the first 6 years of my life, he was traveling a lot, and we didn't see him for months at a time. And I remember always when summer holidays came and we flew back to Finland to visit family, he always stayed in Dubai in the gruesome hot summer months and just continued working. So maybe visited for 1 week during the summer holidays, maximum 10 days or something. So it definitely left a mark on my confidence, not having a present father that much, and also in a way his father, his leadership style was a bit controversial, because even though he was a self-made businessman, he had also gone to school. He had got he was an engineer, even though he didn't use that degree for that long. He started off as an engineer, but soon it wasn't very many years until he had his own business. But he was always pushing me to go to school, get good grades, go to university, get a good job, get a big degree, even though he was a business owner himself. So there was a controversial kind of bringing up, a way to bring me up, because then I wanted to be a businessman, but I hated school. And I never found any subject that talked about business. I never found any subject that talked about success, and you can reach success through failure and that kind of thing. And that's kind of weird. And even up to today, it's more very academic and very based on theory, and either you fail or you pass. That kind of way to bring our kids up in today's society. I think it doesn't work anymore. And I don't know if I don't know, has it truly worked? Because actually the only way you can reach success is through failure. It's not either you fail or you pass. It's not like this. There's failure. There's success. It's success. But there's success, but you can only get there through those failures and through the learning and the growth journey.
I love that, man. So, I just love what you said there, that you can reach the growth through the failure, actually. And you
absolutely,
of course, a couple of businesses as well, and obviously you have failed some as well, right? Can you maybe give some examples there of like how you build your businesses and perhaps why you failed, and what was your biggest learning from that?
Yeah, absolutely. Just kind of a little kind of build up to that. So basically at age 17, we moved to Finland from Dubai. And I got lost a bit, lost in translation, lost in going from a very Muslim country to a very liberal country. In Dubai, if you would cut class, if you would, skip a class in the school, first of all, there was nowhere to go because it was just desert around you. And if they caught you, you'd get expelled. I already had one suspension on my list, so I didn't have any room for error there.
No room for margin.
We'll take no room for margin. We'll do that. We'll go into that in a different conversation. But anyways, in Finland, probably the same as in many European countries. It's if you go to class or you don't go to class, nobody really cares as long as you just pass the test in the end. So it was very liberal, and we could go to the gas station and play poker or just drink coffee and smoke cigarettes, and then those cigarettes turned into weed. And then that weed turned into party drugs. And I suddenly, realized, 2-3 years had just gone down the path of escaping reality and being hooked on computer games. And I lost my dream for a while of I want to be a business owner, I want to be an entrepreneur. I lost kind of my path, and you know, was having a lot of different confidence issues. But then at age 21, thankfully, someone believed in me more than I believed in myself. And there was a direct sales business that was launched in our market, and I was invited by one of my good friends to take a look. And during that presentation, I was shown the first time in my life an equation where you could work, just first of all, decide the hours you work, decide who you work with, decide where you work and how you work. So kind of like an entrepreneur freedom lifestyle. Yeah. And of course, the same path as any business owner, the income starts from small, but if you invest 2 to 3 to 5 years, you can actually be in a situation where you have walk away residual income or significant passive income. So it was the first time I was introduced to the term of passive or residual income. And I immediately, a light bulb kind of went on in my mind. And I was like, okay, cool. Now I can be like my father, but I can also have time and money freedom. My dad always had the money. Well, not always, but there was seasons where he had money, but he never had time. And I thought, okay, cool, I can beat my dad by getting both. It was basically love at first sight. And then that led me, you know, obviously it wasn't from rags to riches in the first get-go. It was more 4 years of hitting my head to the wall, going up and down, being consistent, being inconsistent, losing my way, and trying different strategies on how I could build my teams and my business. But thankfully, I also got connected to great coaches, great mentors who had already had more success than me, who were working quite closely together with me because they saw my hunger and they also saw my impatience and my lack of focus, and I got bored very fast. And that's when I also started for the first time, luckily also at a quite young age, 22, introduced to personal development, you know, started reading books from the legends like Napoleon Hill and Dale Carnegie and Richard Branson and so on. And after reading a few self-help books, I realized that, okay, actually it's totally okay to fail and you can only get to success through failure. And so I might as well get the money thing out of the way, fail faster, and start many companies. Why do one when you can do many? Why go slow when you can rocket? So we had like, and we had a good sales team at that time. So, you know, that was like maybe 3-4 years into the business. I had already got some traction and was making like, you know, 5 to 10K a month at that age, quite a good income. You know, that was back in 2005 or 6. And then I thought, you know, I have the Midas touch. Everything I touch turns into gold. So I started 10 companies with 10 friends, or about 8 to 10 friends. And from different industries, from marketing, you know, what's it called? Advertising agencies to human resources to different retail chains and stuff like that. And we had a blast. It was a fun ride. Some of the companies went down very fast. Some had very little success. A few of them had more success. You know, fast forward to 2008, we were in south of Spain building an auction house in Spain and UK. That's where the financial crash before this one, about 12 years ago. And suddenly I found myself back in Finland in a board meeting where we just had gone through like with the lawyers and all the board of directors that our main company that has been funding everything is going bankrupt. And I have 250,000 euros personal loans from all of this fun experience. And pretty much all the 10 companies were wiped out. I was burned out. So also my direct sales business had gone pretty much to zero. That was the low. That was what led me then to having 2 years of blackout burnout. Like 2 years was pretty much just I felt like I didn't feel like anything. I was probably like a living zombie. felt totally hopeless and felt like I had not much choice or not much life left in me. And at the same time, of course, then me and my fiance, we got separated because obviously I had not been communicating in the same love language or any language for that matter with her. I had totally neglected our relationship. Then I was left in our house alone, and really filled with anxiety every morning and night, and I couldn't even sleep for only 1 year without pills.
Wow.
I remember many months just like pleading with different collectors and trying to make some kind of a plan where they wouldn't seize my house and my car. They ended up getting the car, but the house I managed to save. But it was gruesome times because my monthly expenses were 10,000 euros. My income was 5,000 from different sales projects and from dealing and wheeling, 1,000 from here, 1,000 from there. And Finland, even though I'm grateful for many things about the country, isn't so forgiving as many countries. You can't really just start from scratch and they're not going to forgive your loans. You have to pay them back somehow. Or then go into declare personal bankruptcy, which means you can't pretty much do any business in your name for the next 10 years. And I didn't want to do that because I saw a few friends of mine who did, and they just went downhill from there. So, and of course, there were moments where I thought that maybe best to jump ship, go back to Dubai under my dad, work under my dad's wing, or even jump off the bridge or take some kind of an exit, which I hadn't gotten from the real business. But thankfully, because of personal development, because of coaches, because of books like Think and Grow Rich, and other classics, I something inside of me kept me going and I had the inner voice telling me that the bigger the dip, the bigger the expansion. We're given as much heat as we can handle, and this is going to lead to 7 figures in net worth anytime soon, because I'm going through such adversity. A wise man once said, adversity is the canvas upon which you paint your greatness.
Wow.
And, that's deep, but it's so true.
I love that expression, man. But you just described a very, very deep and I would say painful situation where you were in. Like you basically lost everything that you had, not only in terms of in financial situation, but also almost yourself, right?
Yeah.
And you mentioned a couple of things that gave you hope again, but I really would like to understand how you pulled yourself out from there. Like what was the trigger? What was the sparkle that really gave you, that hope and direction in life to say like, you know what, I'm going for it again, despite of how deep I am at this point in time?
Yeah, it's a great question. I actually, when you have, when you're in that situation, it forces you, or at least it forced me to think of, well, first of all, I was asking myself in the beginning, like very disempowering questions, like, why did I do this? Or why did I sign that paper? Or how can I be so stupid that I didn't leave from the board earlier? And these kind of questions,
Yeah.
And then one of my mentors actually made me and realized about the self-talk and how can I avoid this in the future? How can I bounce back? And what actually made me happy? Where did I get the most excitement from? What gave me the most joy and the less suffering? And I then, had a lot of time to go within, start meditating, start exercising, and really think to myself, where did that joy come from? And I realized that during my darkest moments that the joy actually had come from building those direct sales businesses, and the frustration and the stress, and also the problems came from traditional business for me. So I then decided to go back into direct sales, and of course in a ethically built company there's pretty much no risk, so I could start because I didn't have money to invest at the time. And at the same time, there's no limits on how big you can grow and scale it. So that gave me hope, because, you know, if I would have returned back to becoming an employee, which of course crossed my mind for a moment in my weakest moments, I then realized that, hey, it's going to take me forever, like 30 years to pay my loans, or 20 years minimum, even if I get to a senior position in some of these corporates, making 10K a month, because the tax office takes half of it anyway. So my only chance was to build a business and, you know, have unlimited income potential. But if you have minus 250K in your account, there's not very many businesses you can really launch. So direct sales brought me hope, and mentors, you know, poured confidence and love and support into me that had come through this crazy industry. And also, I think what was a kind of a sliding doors moment, or like a significant time period in my life, was the very beginning of my career as an entrepreneur and in the direct sales industry. We formed a very tight peer group with the 5 to 6 guys that we started building the business from day one. And we were the same age, we were the same tribe, we had similar interests, you know, we were all young and hungry, ambitious entrepreneurs, wanting, of course, the luxury lifestyle at that time. And especially, you know, I'd lived in Dubai, so I wanted to have a similar life as we had there, but with more freedom and flexibility. And that was, you know, I have a dream board behind me, so we were so excited.
Very cool.
It's this is one of the biggest reasons what kept me going, because in the beginning of the career, we were so excited with those 5 or 6 guys, that our peer group, the colleagues, that we were used to hang out in my, you know, student dormitory, 23 square meter box, where I had also a roommate sharing half of it. We had 4 or 5 guys in my side of the dormitory, visualizing and, you know, reading lifestyle magazines and Rob Report, and sometimes we went to the Shell petrol station about 30 kilometers, 40 kilometers away in the middle of the night, 2 a.m. because nothing else was open, had some tea, and then just we're building our dream boards together, or just like being so excited of the future, even though we were completely broke. But we were so excited and had such a strong belief that our life is going to transform in 180 degrees.
Oh, wow.
We couldn't sleep because we were so excited. And
that's the power of real friends as well, right? To have those kind of discussions.
Exactly.
With your friends. Yeah.
It's super, I think, powerful to have a mastermind or a peer group where you can really go deep in brainstorming and visualizing and dream building. And then when the shit hit the fan, I don't know, is it correct to say luckily or thankfully, but you know, the same guys were on that boat of going bankrupt. So because we had formed such a great tight bond that we those were the guys we actually started a lot of the other companies with. Of course, most of them didn't take as much heat as me. So I mean, didn't take as much loan on their shoulder as me. It was me and 2 other guys who carried most of the risk. But you know, everyone was completely broke, and probably the best case scenario was minus 50K. So it was still a dip, you know, from one of the guys. But we then also, you know, when we then decided we'd all start direct sales, some of the guys went on to continue traditional businesses, and then we decided to save 1 or 2 of the companies that went bankrupt or were about to go bankrupt, and they started rebuilding those. And you know, 5 years later, everyone were pretty much, whether if not, you know, 7-figure net worth, but at least, you know, making multiple 6 figures, and had pretty much paid off all the debt. Or a few of us still took a few years more to pay everything off, but pretty much, from that original crew, I would say, you know, 5 out of 6 are millionaires today, and the 6th one is also doing very well.
Oh, wow.
So I think that there has to be not just a coincidence. It was the power of visualizing, power of masterminding, power of writing down your goals and believing in yourself and having the mindset that everything is possible, and where you put your focus on becomes stronger. And the biggest statement that I had highlighted in my calendar was giving up is not an option. The plan may change, the goal may change, but never the dream. I mean, well, not even the goal necessarily, but the plan, how you reach that goal will change. The most important is to always keep the eyes on the prize and not drop the ball, even though we may have to change the ball, but we're not going to drop it, So like Jim Quick talked about in the Mind Valley, where you were at also a couple of years ago in Tallinn, persistency will get you what you want. Consistency will get you to keep it. That's what I learned the hard way. I was persistent but not consistent, and also I lacked the focus. So that's what got me in the mess in the first place.
Wow, beautiful story, man. And you already used some interesting tools such as visualizing, meditation, the power of masterminds, and having great people around you that support your values and your vision of where you want to go through. Are there any other particular tools or tactics or approaches that that you found helpful or have found effective in your journey?
Yeah, great question. I would say that I've always been, well, not always, but I've learned to be very systematic in my actions, and I think that it's very, very powerful to not only have that long-term vision, but then also to chew that long-term vision down into smaller bits and know what is it exactly that you need to be doing tomorrow and next week, and of course most importantly today, to get you closer to where you want to go. So I also started like journaling down, and have continued that until today. My top 6 things that I need to do in the evening, top 6 things I need to do, or top 5 things I need to do the next day. And they're on, reminders. I have reminders going on my phone to make sure that I'm getting them done. And then, also in the evening when you're writing them down, it's, I think, important to write down what were your best achievements of the day, and what the best achievement of the day, and what have I learned, what have you learned today, and how can I improve tomorrow, and then going into the top 6 things to do before bedtime. And in the morning I look at the list after I've done my meditation and had some exercise, or some breath work, or something to get the mind clear, and then the blood streaming also. Blood flowing. Cold shower is also quite commonly used these days. But basically I look at my top 6 things, and I prioritize what is the most important, what is the rain-making activity, the money-making activity I need to get done today. And if you hit all 6 of those things every single day without any or much of a struggle, it means your goal is too small. If you can barely hit the first one, if you can, you seldomly hit the first one, then I think the goal is a little bit too big. So I think that if we get through the first 3 every day, at least the first one, the rest are not as important, then we're like on track. But if we have to find that balance, because it's also important that we get through it. Otherwise, we get demotivated. So like, for example, today I'm going to have one, closing conversation, and I'm going to, open 5 new conversations, and I'm going to have one personal presentation, and so on. So they're like very sales driven goals. But this is I think very, very effective.
I love it, man. I love the fact that you're journaling, that you are writing down your goals and reviewing them actively at night, like really writing down your learning lessons. I think that's amazing. I'm just wondering, why is there a particular reason why you have like a top 6? Or maybe there can be a top 3, or what's the reason that you have a top 6?
Yeah, that's a great question. It was actually related. It came from Napoleon Hill. No, it was actually Earl Nightingale. Earl Nightingale leading the field audio CD. I listened to it maybe 50 times in my car,
Oh, wow.
in my broke mobile.
So you know it by heart now.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Back in the days where when I was completely broke, and it was a story of I believe his name was Charles Schwab, who was like a consultant, and he made this like deal with a factory that, if they do his strategy, then based on the performance, he will get a percentage. And it was exactly this exercise of all the employees, all the sales team, all the top executives would write down the top 6 things they need to do, and then the next morning they would go and look at it again, and then prioritize from top to bottom the most important, and get that task done every day. That was the story in that book, which then led Charles to get a massive bonus from the factory owner. And that's how it started. But no, I guess it doesn't matter if it's top 3 or top 5. It was just copied from that training.
Okay. You have to listen to that audio book.
It's old Earl Nightingale, old classic, okay. Probably almost 100-year-old recording, which he has actually talked in the radio himself. So it's a fantastic. These old classics, they never wear down. The truths are
so true, man.
Timeless.
Yeah, exactly. Man, I love it. And you also mentioned very quickly something about morning routines. I would love to touch upon it. You mentioned like that you do some cold showering, or you start with meditation. Maybe can you deconstruct your morning routines if you have a particular one, and how it helps you basically preparing yourself for the day and getting into an optimal state of, let's say, energy that brings you throughout the day?
Yeah, I love that question. So basically I'm using different meditation methods, but recently, after I was in UPW with Tony Robbins last year, I've used his technique. So basically it's like
the breathing technique.
Yeah. Second breath.
Exactly.
You know it as well.
Yeah, so I did it as well.
And then being grateful about family and career, and yourself, and then like playing that vision, that perfect day, or that vision in my mind, and then putting the focus on what today's task. And connecting with the creator, connecting with source.
Yep.
Some mornings I go for a run, or jump in the trampoline, or go to the gym, or just take a cold shower and do Wim Hof breathing method. I use his app, for 15 minutes in the morning normally. Then I open my phone and come to the office. I don't eat breakfast because I'm intermittent fasting, so I only have lunch like about 2 p.m. That's my first food, so that saves also a lot of time. I just have a coffee and water, salt water in the morning. That's pretty much the morning routine. Sometimes I do also cold showers in the evening because I like sauna. And after sauna, it's a must do. We have a sauna next door, like here, so I'm gonna do sauna also tonight. So, and the cold shower after the warm sauna is the best.
That's the best thing you can get. Exactly.
Yeah.
So you mentioned a couple of things about the morning routines, which I really, really liked. And I would just like to know right now, like going back to you as an entrepreneur, and basically your experience there. What is basically the biggest learning lesson out of your whole journey in building a business? How can we, as starting entrepreneurs or ambitious entrepreneurs, what are basically the first steps to take? What is your recommendation or advice there?
Love that question. Think long term.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that for me has been my biggest lesson, because my biggest weakness has been impatience. still is, but I'm not as bad as I used to be. So I was, getting tired, not tired, but bored very fast, and lost my focus if I didn't see results fast enough. And especially in today's world, when we live on such an instant gratification society, and we want to see results very, very quickly, and we get bored very fast. Our concentration spans are record low.
Yeah.
Our patience is even lower. So, that's why, even though you can get stuff done in 3 months and work small miracles in 6 months, if you're not ready to commit 1,000 days, like 2 years, 7 months, 3 years, somewhere in between that period, to really go transform your business and your life, then you shouldn't even start your business, in my opinion. And of course, focus on your strengths. But if you haven't already done a strength test to find where your strengths are, then I recommend to do Clifton Strength Finder, or Google a strength test to do. But basically, it's important to find your strengths, to play on your strengths, to find things that brings you joy and enjoyment, and focus on the things that you're good at, so that you can become great and even outstanding at some point. Again, one of the philosophies where I think the schooling system in many ways goes wrong is that they force us to focus on our weaknesses, that they want us to improve our weaknesses. Okay, maybe it's smart with some weaknesses to improve them, but if we hate something, if we are bad at something, why the hell should we focus there? Let's find those things that we're good at and we enjoy doing, and focus there, and then recruit or hire our incompetence as our weaknesses. I think that's the way you build a strong business, and you find the key players into those spots where they can shine and be most authentic and thrive on, because it's their strength and their passion.
I absolutely love that answer. I think it's really, really cool. And just mentioned quickly something about authenticity, where you can be authentic.
Yes.
How do you feel like we can be authentic, or like putting yourself out there as an entrepreneur or as a professional? What are your strategies there, or how do you do that?
Yeah, great question again. Basically, authenticity is just being true and being real to yourself, and not trying to please everyone, not trying to be all things to all people, focusing on, again, your strengths, focusing on your customer base, your tribe, your niche, and focusing on serving and helping those that you can most impact, and not being worried about what others think. I think that's, and in my business, where I'm engaging a lot through social media these days, it's about authentically sharing your stories. And I think that people don't want to see just those success and rainbow stories, victory stories. I think that the drama is in the details, and the more vulnerable we can be on social media, on speaking our own truth, and also sharing those, those vulnerabilities and those challenges and mistakes and failures that we've had, and connect that with, your message or your story. I think that's what people are, get. That's where you can create more impact and help others as well. Of course, it depends on what the business is and what is your strategy, and what the product or the service you're putting out there. But still, we should put it out by sharing our truth. And the drama is always in the details.
Absolutely, man. I really like that. And I think what I really admire in you is your perseverance through the whole transformational journey that you shared, and also your openness in sharing your story. I think that's really, really cool. And that's also a way that you can inspire other people. So that's absolutely amazing. And I want to thank you for that. But before we perhaps wrap up, I want to ask you a final question, since we are now living in these times of change. I think it's super interesting because you have been through immense change in your life and in your business. What is the one strategy or the number one learning lesson that you can take from there in this period that we're living in right now?
Yeah, man, great question again. So I would say that no matter how bad things may seem today, and you know how mad your own personal situation or finances may be, or the market or whatever, you know, even this will pass. And again, we go back to that thinking long-term aspect. So if you zoom out long enough, you know, when I was at minus 250,000 and the market crashed and everything, if you know, we know that everything goes up and down in waves, and you know, after expansion there's always a recession, and then there's a new expansion and so on. So if you zoom out long enough, let's say 5 years from now, I think this is just going to be a very small glitch in the road, and you can barely see it on the graph. Or if 5 years is too short, then zoom out 10 years, and eventually it will just be a little glitch, a little bump on the road. And that's why it's super important to have that long-term vision of the future, and you know, take ownership, take control of your future, and just take it. It all starts by taking a committed decision that, you know, I'm creating that dream lifestyle. I'm taking the control in my hands, and you know, extraordinary times also brings amazing opportunities.
True,
you know, like Warren Buffett always says, be fearful when others are greedy, be greedy when others are fearful. And maybe we should change the word greedy into something else, but you get the idea that you know, when people are panic selling, that's when you have chance to make good deals. And I think plan for, you know, plan for the best, but prepare for the worst. So it's always good to have some free capital, free funds available. If you don't have it today, don't worry. In 10 years now, from that time from now, there's going to be a new recession. Make sure that you're prepared for the upcoming one with having, you know, a cash or whatever currency we're using, and being prepared in a better way. And it's never too late to start building your own plan B and diversifying. Don't have your eggs in just one basket. That's my advice.
Wonderfully said, man. So long-term vision, I've heard it 4 times now. Take absolute ownership of yourself, and everything comes with other opportunities. So man, I want to thank you very much for this conversation. Super cool that you wanted to be on the Dreambuildrs podcast.
Thank you.
Mikko, where can we actually find you? Where can people find you?
Yeah, thank you, Jochem. It's been great being here. Like I said, the pleasure is mine, and thankful to be able to share and hopefully inspire people through my story. And I think the best way is Facebook. You know, send a friend request, and maybe also send a comment, because I get a lot of requests. So just let's connect through there, or my name at gmail.com. You can always pass me an email, have it more personal. Those are the 2 tools that is the most easiest to reach me today.
Awesome. I'll make sure that I'll drop it in the comments below afterwards. I'm super excited to see what you're going to do in the future, and we'll keep in contact for sure.
Likewise, my friend.
Maybe see you in Portugal soon.
Definitely. Let's have some 10-year-old port wine soon
definitely in the sun.
Under the sun in the marina somewhere. Yeah. We'll do it.
All right, everybody. All right. To the listeners, thank you so much for listening, and we will be back soon. Thank you, Mikko.
Thank you, my friend.
Cheers.
Let's make it happen. Ciao.